Jordan here with The Means of Meaning. I've got a great video to share with you today. I'm going to be making sun-thickened linseed oil using the methods developed by Louis R. Velasquez. There are a few videos online that show the Velasquez process, and I have this book that details it quite well, including the claims of superior handling properties and improved archival qualities like reduced yellowing. So in this video, I'm going to try it out for myself and see what kind of results I get. Louis R. Velasquez has no relation to the famous 17th century Spanish painter Diego Velasquez, whose paintings are still in excellent condition, by the way. But interestingly, this recipe is inspired by the 1649 writings of his teacher, Francisco Pacheco. So it's possible that Velasquez refined his oil using a similar method. It's also referred to as an old master's oil because some believe 16th and 17th century masters like Rembrandt, Rubens, and Van Dyck used sun-thickened linseed oil. Some refer to sun-thickened linseed oil as an August oil because it takes about 3 months in the hot summer sun to create. So just like we're doing today, it's best to start the process in late May or early June. I say about 3 months because location will determine how long the process takes. I'm located in Toronto, Ontario, so the sun might not be as hot and consistent as if I were located in California, for instance. Before I get started, I want to talk a bit about linseed oil and why it's considered the best oil for painting. Linseed oil mixed with paint pigment is special because it bonds and encases the pigments to make a clear, translucent film, allowing light to refract through all layers. It has superior film-forming properties, adhesive strength, and a faster drying time, which is more of a personal preference for some painters. There is no linseed in nature. Linseed oil is made from the oil of flax seeds, and flax oil contains about 5% of what's called mucilage, which is a complex mixture of aqueous and oleaginous material suspended in an oil and it must be removed for the purposes of painting because it decomposes and it'll permanently discolor or blacken bright colors over time. Some say it's impossible to get rid of 100% of the mucilage in flax oil, but this method claims to be the most effective process. Pacheco in the 17th century proposed using the buds of lavender flowers to extract mucilage, which is where Velasquez got the idea to use psyllium husk as an efficient and modern substitute for separating mucilage from fresh flax oil. By removing the mucilage and exposing the oil to the hot summer sun, Velasquez claims the linseed oil will become transparent, crystal clear, and will not yellow over time. He states that modern alkali refined linseed oil methods did not exist in the era of Rembrandt and the old masters, which is true. And unlike commercially available linseed oils, such as the ones you'll find at art supply stores, sun-thickened linseed oil has not been subjected to the same high heat and chemical solvents that degrade the oil, making it unsuitable for archival painting. Again, these are theories and beliefs that have not been independently verified by modern science. In the meantime, we can only test out this completely natural and solvent-free method of refining oil for painting and use it. Hopefully, in a few hundred years, the paintings I make with this oil will still be here with the same clarity and vibrancy as the day they were painted. So for now, let me take you through some of the ingredients and equipment I'll need to create the sun-thickened linseed oil. First and most importantly, you're going to need cold-pressed, unrefined flax oil. You can find it at your local health food store or a Whole Foods if it's in your area. It's usually in the refrigerated section, although it doesn't have to be kept refrigerated once it's purchased. Do not use industrial grade flax oil or flax oil mixed with lignans. Lignans are flaxseed particulate that is added to the oil to provide fiber. And do not use flax oil formulated for pets such as dogs or horses. They contain antioxidants that will interfere with the oxidization process. Next, I'll need powdered psyllium husk, which can also be purchased at most local health food stores. It can also be bought on Amazon, which is what I did. Do not use psyllium husk that has any additives, again, including protein additives. Third item is an 80 to 100 proof distilled alcohol spirits. Gin or vodka works fine. I'll be using this Tanqueray today. For equipment, we need 3 to 4 measuring cups showing ounces. It's very important. I have these glass Pyrex measuring cups, which I really like because they're easy to clean. You'll also need a few 32-ounce mason jars with a screw-on lid, a large mixing spoon. You're gonna need a large storage bin, just like this one. A couple of aluminum baking trays. These ones you can find at the grocery store, and they have a clear removable lid as well. This one that I've purchased is 13 inches by 9 inches. Later in the process, I'm going to be using a large funnel, just like this one, some super jumbo cotton balls, just ordinary cotton balls, cheesecloth, and I'll also be using opaque white ceramic baking dish. Again, some other tools you'll need: some tape, a utility knife, pair of scissors, Sharpie, and I've got these nice white labels that I'm going to be using at the very end to label the jars. Okay, so we're on to step 1 of creating our sun-thickened linseed oil, and that's mixing the ingredients right. So our first step is I'm going to crack open this flax oil and measure out 16 ounces. Doesn't have to be perfect. If it's a little more or less, that's okay. I think that's pretty much exactly 16. So we'll just put that aside. And then we're going to measure out 6 fluid ounces of alcohol, our Tanqueray gin. Okay. And we're going to add 2 ounces of psyllium husk, our powdered psyllium husk, into our third mixing cup. Just a little bit more. Okay, that's about 2 ounces. And it's important not to add the psyllium husk directly to the flax oil. We're going to mix the psyllium husk into the alcohol first. And we do this to prevent the psyllium husk from absorbing the oil. The husk will not absorb the ethanol in the alcohol, but will absorb the water portion. So let's do that now. Great. And I'm going to take my large spoon and mix it up. I'm going to mix it for just a few minutes and get it nice and homogenized. Okay, so now that we've got the alcohol and powdered psyllium husk mixed together, we're going to add that mixture as well as our oil mixture to a 32-ounce mason jar. So let's start with the oil. Just carefully put that in there. Make sure you get all of it. And then I'm going to carefully add this in. Once we've got that all in there, I'm going to put the lid back on. I'm going to secure the lid and shake. Shake vigorously for a few minutes until the mixture is homogenized. Once it's all together, I'm going to take this mix and I'm going to leave it in a window to sit still for about 24 hours in the sun. If there's a ball or solid mass that forms in the jar here, we're going to stir it up so that it's a nice mixture and doesn't form a mass. So I've got enough flax oil left over in here to do another batch just like we created. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. And that way I've used all my materials and there's no wastage. But that's it for today. I'm going to go enjoy the rest of the afternoon and check back with you for the next steps tomorrow. It's a beautiful day here in Toronto, and it's the perfect day for us to move on to step 2 of creating a sun-thickened linseed oil. Our mixture's been sitting out in the sun for a little bit longer than 24 hours, and as you can see, I've created 2 batches so that I could utilize all of my flax oil that I've purchased. What we're going to do in step 2 is expose the mixture to hot sun, and I've got this large plastic storage bin to place my aluminum baking tray in. I'm using it to avoid spills and make it an easier handling experience in case I have to move the mixture around at some point. So basically I'm going to remove the lid and use some ordinary packing tape here to secure the aluminum tray into the bin. And what I do is I just create a very simple little tape loop like this. Place it in like this, and I like to place it offset in the large bin so that we have room to put the other lid when it's nice and sunny. And I'll take 2 more pieces of tape and just secure the sides as well. Okay. Next, what I want to do is cut a few air holes into my lid. And how I'm going to do that is, starting with a utility knife, I'm just going to puncture a few holes into the lid. And again, this is not a precise sort of thing. You just want to create an opening for air to get in to the mix and for oxidization, so that oxidization can occur. And I'll do the same on the other side. I'm just puncturing it with the knife and then safely using the scissors to cut the little hole. And it'll look something like that. You can see how that works. Okay, so now with my aluminum baking tray secured and the air holes cut in the plastic lid, we're going to open up our mixtures and pour them into the aluminum baking tray. Now, I want to pour both mixes in because your oil level should be around 1 to 2 inches thick. And I'm just going to use my hands to kind of move it around, move this mix around a little bit. Once the mixture is in the aluminum tray though, and you're all ready, don't stir or move the oil mixture around. We're going to let the hot sun do its work for 8 to 10 days. And again, I'm going to leave it exposed to the air and the sun as long as I can within that 8 to 10 days. It does depend on your weather and where you're located. So if there's rain, you might have to wait a little bit longer. At nighttime, put the lid on top and even put the large lid on top because you really don't want any moisture to get into the mix, but you do need air to get in for oxidization. So a couple clear lids are very helpful. And don't worry about dust or leaves, insects, or other things that may fall into the oil. They're easily filtered out later in the next steps. For now, I'm going to let the sun do its work, and we'll see you in 8 to 10 days. Okay, it's raining in Toronto today, so I wanted to take this opportunity to show you guys why we use this plastic bin. It's to prevent moisture from getting in, essentially. And what I've done is I've used this wooden strapping to create a little gap under the lid here so that no moisture gets into our oil. So it's a pretty simple kind of setup, and it's handy to just have around in case the rain starts coming down. You can protect your mix. We've had a couple of rainy days of weather here in Toronto, so I opted to leave my mixture out for the full 10 days. In this step, I'll be filtering the oil for the first time, removing the husk, and with it the mucilage. This filtering step should be done outdoors. Ethanol in the alcohol will cause the water-soluble mucilage to drop out of the solution, while the psyllium husk will hold it tightly, leaving me with the refined linseed oil. I'm going to start by placing 2 to 3 cotton balls, grab our jumbo cotton balls, into the bottom of my plastic funnel and over a clear mason jar. I decided to purchase this extra large funnel, which is significantly larger than the one that I showed at the beginning of this video. I realized that the husk and oil is heavy and I must pour the entire contents into the funnel, and I don't want a situation where the oil mix would start overflowing and spilling. You can find this type of funnel at an automotive specialty store, or if you live in Canada, try Canadian Tire stores. So at this point, I'm going to go ahead and place the funnel on top of my clean and clear mason jar with the cotton balls firmly placed in the bottom of my funnel. And I'm going to go ahead and empty the contents of my mix into the funnel. Patience is a virtue, as it's going to take about 5 to 10 minutes for the filtering to start. So I just very carefully put it in there. Husk and all. And again, that's why you need this super large funnel, because the husk is big and heavy and it's going to be sitting in there for a few hours. You know, like I said, it's going to take 5 to 10 minutes for the oil to start filtering, and it'll start very slowly dripping into the jar. The refined oil will trickle into the jar slowly, 1 drop at a time. It may take up to 8 or 12 hours for this step to complete. And I want to emphasize that it's really important not to squeeze the cotton balls or the husk at any point during or after the filtering in hopes of getting more oil. You just want to let it sit and drip. So we're going to have patience and let the filtering do its work. Just a quick warning to artists using linseed oil that it will self-ignite, and any rags or paper towels soaked in linseed oil can be a fire hazard. I like to have a bucket of water close by so I can safely place any rags or paper towel in the bucket after use. Okay, so our first filter is complete, and now I have an oil. This is the oil that's visibly clear, and the mucilage has been removed, and it has a medium amber color. It's significantly lighter than the color of the unrefined flaxseed oil, which I have an example of here so you can see the difference. This is the oil that we started with, and here it is after the first filtering. This oil is ready to paint with, but it's guaranteed to yellow. So I could reserve some of it for dark passages or for grinding with darker pigments such as blacks or umbers. You know, that's only if I wanted to. However, I think I'm just going to move along to this step 4, which is thickening the oil so it becomes much more viscous and fast drying. This thickening process is called polymerization, during which time the molecules of the oil begin to cross-link on their way to drying to a hard film. So I start the process again with our big storage bin. We don't want any oil spilling, and it's really important to keep it in a bin like this for easy movement in case you need to move it around. And just like we did in a previous step, I'm going to use some regular packing tape to secure this opaque ceramic container, the type that's used in the kitchen, to the bottom of our plastic storage bin. And again, just like we did in previous steps, I'm going to place our opaque white container kind of offset in the bin, just like that, so that there's space for a spoon. And I'm going to simply take our container, and I'm going to start by pouring the oil into the white opaque ceramic container. It's important not to use aluminum or a glass container for this part. And the oil should also sit at about 3 or 4 inches thick, which is also important. So let's just go ahead and do that now. It's really simple. I just pour it in. Okay. Now I'll place the container in direct hot summer sun and leave it uncovered for 45 to 60 days. I'll try to stir it 2 times a day for a minute or 2 with my large stirring spoon, which I leave in the container. It's also easy if you leave it in the container so that you don't get too many spills on your patio or wherever you're doing it outdoors. And you can kind of see on the spoon here, you know, how the linseed oil becomes a hard film on this spoon, and this is just from stirring. That'll happen really quickly in the sun. You know, again, we put it in the bin to prevent moisture from getting in, so just like we did on previous steps. I'll cover it at night and when it's raining to prevent the moisture from entering the oil. The number of days needed in the sun will depend on how hot the weather is in your area. Continuous exposure to hot, dry summer sun and daily stirring will cause the oil to become bleached, thick and viscous, almost like honey. So for now, we're going to have patience. We're going to enjoy a couple months of summer, and we'll see you in 45 to 60 days. We've had some beautiful hot summer weather over the past few weeks, which has really helped to thicken and bleach this oil. It's been about 45 days since I placed the oil in this white ceramic baking dish. I could leave the oil a little bit longer to become richer and thicker, but ultimately the artist is the one to determine how many days of sun exposure is desired. And I think we're ready for the final filter. Velasquez recommends using a wad of cheesecloth in the base or narrow part of the funnel. However, I found that on the first filtering, the cotton ball method worked so well that I'm just going to stick with cotton balls for this last filtering because I'm too nervous to use the cheesecloth. But he does recommend that because the oil has become much thicker and more viscous. Just like the first filtering, it'll take a few minutes for the oil to start dripping. Patience is a virtue here because it could take up to 9 hours to complete. Upon conclusion of the filtering, don't squeeze the cotton ball in hopes of getting more oil. So I'm just going to go ahead and pour the oil into the funnel, and we're going to let it filter and come back and see how we did. Placing a jar of cleansed oil in the refrigerator that is not lower than 40 degrees Fahrenheit or 4.4 degrees Celsius for about 3 to 4 hours is a quick method to check if the mucilage has in fact been removed from the oil. When the mucilage has been removed, the oil remains 100% transparent in the cold refrigerator. Flaxseed oil containing mucilage, linseed oil containing mucilage will become cloudy in the cold refrigerator, but remains transparent in warm temperatures. I store my final cleansed oil in an airtight bottle. I find a clear glass container that has very little empty airspace once I pour the oil in. It's not good to use dark glass or colored glass to store your sun-thickened linseed oil. In the end, I opted to have a little fun with my packaging, and I created a branded label, including an additional label on the back of the bottle showing the date that I finished it and other information about it. I shake the oil for about 30 seconds every week to keep it from forming a skin on the top layer. And I keep the jar in a window with sunlight. It doesn't have to be direct sunlight. As long as natural light's entering the room, that should be good enough. As you use the oil, you can drop marbles into the container to elevate the oil level. Air in the jar allows the oil to continue to become thicker or polymerized over time. It's visible how much lighter and thicker the oil has become compared with this sample of raw flax oil that I have. And this is the oil that we started with. I'm also showing a few other examples. This refined linseed oil from a major Canadian art store, and which is sort of like an amber color, a lighter amber color. And this sample of a very light walnut oil from Kramer Pigments. And I wanted you to see how close in color the walnut oil is to the sun-thickened linseed oil. So, I mean, I'm pretty impressed by how light we got it. And there you have it. I'm ready to enjoy my mucilage-free Velasquez sun-thickened linseed oil. Now, if you don't have the space or time to create your own oil, but you're interested in trying it out, I've left a link in the description below to my website where you can pre-order a bottle of my oil for shipping in September of 2024. Thanks for watching. I'm Jordan. Until next time, what is the means of meaning?